I had a lot of motivation, a lot of drive, and a lot of it was just me changing who I was. Now, how I stay motivated is I travel around the country and I speak to people, young kids, older people, black, white, from all different races, colors, genders, religions, everything. And my message is always about can't hurt me. Can't hurt me is just about staying true to who you are, staying real. There's so many people that do what I do who are inspirational speakers, motivational speakers, whatever. You put yourself out there like this to be the ultimate leader. People are trying to see what you're talking about and live off your example. What motivates me now, what keeps me going up every day is you all. People who listen to me, people who follow me, people who trust in me, people who want to be better. I have to live by example. So when it's miserable outside, when I don't want to study, when I don't want to do even clean my house, make my bed, I will be a liar like I used to be if I'm telling you something that I'm not doing every single day of my life.
Yeah, I mean, as we all know, a lot of us hope and we wish for things to happen. And I was the biggest person, doing that when I was growing up, man. I wish my situation was different. I hoped for this miracle to happen. And the more I realized it was never going to happen, I started realizing I had to form something, and I had to form belief. And this isn't like an after-school special belief. This is like, it's great for your mom and dad to say, believe in yourself. And after a while, you start to actually do that. But in those hard times, it doesn't work real well. So I started building belief by doing these extreme hard things. It's not just like running or swimming or whatever it may be. For me, starting off, it was just studying. It was just realizing, man, I battled depression real young, and I'd have these highs and lows. And I had to learn to manage these highs and lows. And that was so difficult to do. It's hard to perform when you have no purpose at all. It is so difficult when you're fat, when you're out of shape, when you're depressed, when you have a hard time learning and you've been abused and you have all these hard times. You fluctuate. On the happy times, you think about a million things you want to do. Oh, I want to get this and I want to get that. And then on those bad times, you just want to survive. So I started really chunking my life down and just focusing on one thing at a time so I could acquire that belief that I needed to attack all the things that I attacked.
I am a wildland firefighter. So I go out 4 months a year, and I fight wildland firefighter. I'm a wildland firefighter. So I don't need to do it. I don't have to do it. I'm 43 years old. I've been through a lot in my life, but it is very, I believe in starting from scratch. So what that means is no matter where you're at in life, sometimes we get very comfortable. The worst thing that could ever happen to a human being is they become civilized. We forget on how we got to where we're at today. We forgot. A lot of us on this call make a lot of money, are very successful. But what got you there was that dog. Was that dog in you? Was that come hell or high water, I don't give a damn how cold it is outside, how miserable I am, how uncomfortable I become, I will get to where I'm at today. And we want to get further than that. But we start to say, how do we do it? How we get further than where we're at today is go back to the roots. Go back to the very root of how you got to where you're at. So why I'm a wildland firefighter today is, first of all, I love giving back. Second of all, it takes me back to the roots of hard work, dedication. You are underappreciated down there. I mean, I am, like one instance, we dug fire line, which is basically digging down to mineral soil for 3 miles. Imagine 18 to 24 inches for 3 miles. And there's 12 people digging 3 miles of that. And you have to cut down these trees that are in the way to continue digging. And then you lay fire hose for 3 miles. That's one evolution out of many. And you make $12 an hour. And once you get through digging, you sleep out in the dirt and you start digging some more. And I'll tell you one story that it's all about staying humble in your mind. And There's this one kid who's out there digging line with me, digging fire line, and he wanted to buy a pair of shoes, a pair of running shoes. And he said the running shoes he wanted like 60, 70, 80 bucks. Not very much compared to what running shoes cost nowadays. And he looked up in the mountains because we just got through digging up in the mountains. And he said, for me to get these running shoes, it was going to take me 5 hours of digging fire line. He said, the shoes I have right now are okay. Because he didn't lose the fact, we lose the value of the dollar, the hard work it takes to get that. So these are some of the lessons I take from going back to where I started, going back to what made me David Goggins. What started callousing my mind was picking up that shovel, was picking up that axe, was grinding every single day. What happens is you start getting those 5-star hotel rooms, flying first class, which is all good. We all earn it. But always go back. Like for me, I lived in a $7 a month place for a few years growing up. I call it my $7 a month mentality. I'm always paying rent in that $7 a month place. I'm always paying rent there. I'm always living there a little fraction of me. So that's kind of the mentality that we need to have to get better. So when I was doing the pull-up record, I failed twice before I finally got it the third time. And I developed a whole handful of calluses. And those calluses were protecting my hands. So this is where I get the whole mentality about callusing your mind. The calluses were protecting my hands from the bar, doing pull-ups. So the whole callus your mind is, you want to callus your mind against life. We've all been through a lot of hard things, and I'm callousing my mind over the victim's mentality. So I had a very victim's mentality. Once you have that mentality, you are doomed to fail. The rest of your life, you will fail. The rest of your life, you will fail. So how you start to callous over the victim mentality is really start to do these things to build self-esteem. The biggest thing, and once again, going back to that teenager, that question about the teenager, what I would tell a teenager also is you have to build self-esteem. How you build self-esteem, how you build confidence is by developing self-discipline. Self-discipline helps with all these things. Like for me, people think that why I got to where I'm at today was by running and all this other stuff. It helped. But I only talk about it for a fraction. Was how I learned how to read and write was I basically would go to the store, I would buy stacks of spiral notebooks, and I had these manuals because my mind, even to this day, it can't retain anything. So I have a photographic memory, but I don't have it just I was born with it. I go through and I write down every single page over and over and over again of a manual. When I take that test, I recall back to the manual, page 71. I remember seeing that because I wrote it down so many daggone times. I can then regurgitate it on paper. So that is how you have to start callousing your mind, by continuously going back in the fight. Go back in the fight. Fail, take 24 hours. Dwell on it. It's fine. That's human nature. Go back in, and the more you go back in and go back in and go back in, like repeatedly touching that pull-up bar. If you stop touching the pull-up bar, your hands get soft. You have to continue touching the things that you don't want to touch in your mind. You start to callous your mind. It starts to build. It starts to get tougher. There is no secret to this. The only secret is you have to get outside your own head into the life that you truly want. And that comes with a lot of sacrifice, and a word that people hate is suffering. There is suffering involved in the things that you want to achieve. It's not always going to be comfortable.
There were so many times in my life growing up, I wanted to fit in, and I wanted to be part of a group, and I didn't have any want, and I didn't have that desire. So when you're trying to fit in, when you're trying to be cool, when you're trying to be whatever the hell it is, without having that internal dog, that fight, when things get hard in life, all you do is quit. When you have that internal in you, like I've developed over a lot of years, this dog, it starts to get built up in you, this fight, this warrior. And when things get difficult, you may not make it, but you come back. You start to build a different voice in your head. That internal conversation, that internal strength, that internal dog, it starts to develop an internal voice. And while my voice in my mind for the first 24 years of my life was very weak, when I started to really build my insides, like my guts getting hard and everything about me getting harder, it developed a different voice. That voice of nurturing, like, oh, David, you came from an abused family. You came from this, you came from that. It's okay. This dog started coming up where it's not okay. I wanted to be one of the 1%ers, not the 99%. I realized I had one life to live, and I have to live it. There's not two lives, there's one life. And all these things started happening to me. And then once that started happening, man, everything flipped. But that internal, it starts to build a voice in you that doesn't allow you to sleep in, doesn't allow you to take days off when you know that you're behind. It just keeps you in check throughout everything you're doing in life because it's not going to allow you to fail. But if you'll work on the inside of you, you will always have that nurturing voice that guides you where it's okay. It's always okay. And if I would have had that, it would have been okay to stay 300 pounds doing what I was doing. So that internal is everything.
One of the keys to my success in life was I was able to see myself at the end of a very difficult task before I even started it. When I was 297, out of shape and afraid of water, I was able to see myself at graduation as a Navy SEAL. But as time went on, I kept on getting rolled back to day one. And every day got longer and longer. So what I had to do was I had to take this big chunk and make it small. So I became the master of the one day that I was living. We have to do that now. We don't know when the end is coming to this. So we got to master that one day. It may keep on getting pushed back day after day. If you master that day and want to be harder and stronger, you'll figure it out. Stay hard.